Hello and welcome to the UK Surf Show. We are your hosts. I'm Pete.
And I'm Mitch, and on today's show we chat to SurfAble Scotland and Jade Edwards and family, who was or is the first Paralympic Scottish surfer ever.
Yeah, the guys from SurfAble Scotland. We went out surfing with them first of all. That was the day I had the best surf of my life ever.
Well, we when you say we went out surfing, I went out surfing, you went out floating.
Yeah, that's the most accurate actually ever. This is the day I took out your god awful Firewire
Great
surfboard, which is it's awful as
Thanks,
well. You just
Firewire.
keep saying it's a great board. But yeah, no,
It's also up for sale if anyone's interested in a 9-1 Timbertech. Pristine.
This says a lot. Yeah, pristine, never been used twice, not surfed once.
As floated on by Pete from the UK Surf Show.
Yeah, and Mitch as well.
I've surfed that board.
Have you?
Yeah.
Not very
So
much.
there you go.
Because you said the same thing to me. I remember you saying to me when we took it out, "Oh, you can try this." I didn't really get on with it. I was going to sell it, but I'm not sure about it. And then as soon as I had a shit surf on it, you're like that. Oh, I don't know what you're on about. This is a great board. This is a great board.
But the thing with that board is it's not. I guess if we think of long boards as short boardists, we just assume you can catch any wave that's ever even looks like a wave. But with this board, it's not. It's not just it's not like a flat rocker. It's a real performance longboard for like doing top turns and stuff. So
it's so difficult.
Catching waves on it is
balance
difficult.
point. Yeah, catching waves. The paddle speed. I have nowhere near enough fitness to paddle into the waves at the speed you need to paddle that to get into them, and the balance point on it is so minute. It's just no.
But you were
even to the point. One of the most embarrassing things, the guy, I can't remember which guy it was from SurfAble, was like, which one? Kev was like, "Do you want me to pull you into the wave?" And I was like, "Fuck off."
Well, that was my second favourite bit.
I'm glad the other bit was him taking the piss out of me. Like later on, we've seen your fucking surfing or whatever it is. He says in the interview, it's like that. You
as you will find out soon. They also offered Pete the adaptive surfboard, which is an enormous foamy with a chair on it.
He said afterwards, he goes, "Oh, you should have said I've got like a 9 foot. I think he said a 9.4 and 9.6 foamy in the van. You could have used that." I was like, "For fuck's sake!"
There's just no helping some people. That's the reality.
And he's like, "Do you want to go back out now and catch one?" I was like, "I got nothing left. I'm done."
And it was a good day though. Cleanest water.
It was a good day. Yeah,
clean.
That water.
Wow.
Literally, put that picture up now of you duck diving off the GoPro.
Well, that means I've got to find it. Here it comes.
I know where it is.
Yeah.
And how clear that water was. I stood up and the water was up to like here, and I was looking at my feet, and I could see my feet on the floor, and I could see every time I moved the sand like displace.
Yeah.
I was like,
it's a lot of sand displacing when you land.
Yeah, it's literally 2 hours up the road from Kildirty, where you live.
It's like a meteor hitting Earth when you land. Sand everywhere.
What's the problem with you today? All we've done is take the piss out of me. Before we went live on this recording, all you did was take the piss out of me. That's it. I'm fucking. You're pissy, aren't you? I did one episode with Leighton again, and that was it. And now you're in a fucking piss now, aren't you?
Which was a great episode, by the way. It was amazing to hear Leighton back on. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. And also Bill Shatman came out, and we didn't mention the competition on there either, which we'll do at the end of this one.
No, we didn't. So the competition will come out at the end of this one, won't it? That'll be it.
Yeah, at the end of this episode, like a couple of days later, the competition will end. But we'll talk about that after this. After we get into it with who is it again?
SurfAble Scotland and Jade Edwards.
SurfAble Scotland and Jade. Yeah.
It's worth pointing out before we get into this one that because I'm not finished doing the edit yet, it's a little bit disjointed, so there'll be a kind of separate interview with the kids, and then there'll be the other bit of the interview with the adults from SurfAble Scotland. Until I actually remember how it went, we don't know which fashion you're about to hear it in.
So you're going to hear something now, so here it goes.
For now, I'm going to eat my Oreo mint milkshake.
Hello. Welcome to the UK Surf Show.
That bit was pretty good.
That was pretty good.
That was.
And I'm Glenn Morris, co-founder SurfAble Scotland.
Have you ever had a microphone before? You just delighted with yourself.
He's that guy, like, I'm not doing karaoke, and then he gets up and you cannot get him off.
Cannot get him off.
Actually, lads, I brought my own mic.
Cheers, Scott. I'm Kev. And sports development and surf coach for SurfAble.
All right, I'm Fraser Edward. I'm surf dad, I guess, by default. Jade's my little grom. There we go.
Okay. And what is it, I guess, then, that brings us all to you guys?
It's all his fault.
Nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me. I'd like to say that we're maybe getting a little bit more traction on the media, and that adaptive surfing as a whole is growing all over the world, and we'd like to do that in Scotland. So I'd like to say it's just a natural kind of bit. We've come together, and we've reached out between the two of us, and if we can shed any spotlight into the grow of adaptive surfing and inclusive surfing, then magic.
So when did it all start then?
So it started for us.
Can I just cut in here? I'd
No,
like
you
to take
cannot.
over this. It's going
You
to be
just
like this for the
cannot.
rest of the interview. You know that.
That's totally unacceptable.
So we've got Kev, who approached me one day. I mean, obviously, the charity that's involved with it is all about promoting accessibility and kind of sort of creating that fairness.
Okay.
So Kev, being a surf instructor and a swim instructor, approached me randomly one day. He knew my background and said, "Hey, Glenn, do you fancy starting up a surf school for supporting additional needs children?" I'm thinking, yes. And it was a no-brainer because it's just such a cool thing. It's outdoors. I hadn't even started surfing at that point, so keep in mind I mean, this is going way back to 2015. So, and I'm just going to let Kev take over from 2015. Hey, Glenn, would you like to start a surf school for children with additional sport needs? Here's Kev.
Yeah.
You liked the idea so much you weren't even bothered that Kev had broken into your house in the middle of the night and woke you up in your bedroom to ask
I'm not joking, Mitch. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. It's unacceptable.
When I want something, I just go for it. I can't help it. No, but is not an answer.
I was going to drop in the same as I've been saying earlier, but it wouldn't work there.
Yeah, just gives a wink. I'll know exactly what you mean. Yeah, so it was I knew Glenn. He was with an organisation. It was hiring the local pool that I worked at, and I was already doing swimming lessons for school groups with additional sport for learning, and it was just amazing. There was the highlight of the week, working with these kids that were just so happy to be in the water, and they were all learning. It was more of I was their guide, and I was demonstrating or introducing or asking them to try things, and they were so receptive to it, but they were learning in their own way, and we just kind of let them run with that. And rather than running a strict structure of this is how you're going to learn to swim, it was far more option-based and far more just relaxed. But time spent in the water, they were learning intrinsically, just with a bit of guidance here and there, maybe suggestions. The 90% of their learning was coming from them and their own choice and their own freedom to do so. So the idea of doing the surf school on top of that was just to offer more. I was already becoming really involved in surfing and surf lifesaving and wanted to kind of learn more in coaching and where my lifeguard and swim tickets could take me. So that was just a bit of a natural progression as well. And then the rest is history. It just went on from there.
It was a natural kind of sort of transition into, I mean, do you know, we were bouncing ideas off one another back then. And sorry, bouncing ideas back and forth with one another back then. And I mean, from a personal background, as a family, we have a son who's now 23 with very much complex needs, and the charity was began way back as far as 2014, but after a bad experience in the theatre, and we were asked to leave 10 minutes into the performance, and it was basically a catapulted, relaxed, and autism-friendly performances throughout the UK thereafter, which was brilliant. So But I was told I made friends with this guy down in London, and we've remained friends ever since. And he's brilliant, brilliant. He's an absolute mentor to me. But he said to me one time, he says, "Do you know, life should be more than twice round the park daily for so many." And having surfing as an adventure sport, and as I said, from the very start, it's outdoors, and it's just this kind of natural progression, and it's just sharing an interest all of a sudden, and nobody's kind of sort of competing against one another.
Yeah.
So it's just such a nice space to be involved with.
For sure.
We'd kind of laid down a kind of plan that within 2 years we wanted to become holistic. So this is by means of, we want to take on board people with physical disabilities as well. So it's always been that kind of stages. And in fact, we talk about inclusion, for example, and we talk about, we hear inclusion as a kind of sort of an afterthought almost. And it kind of slightly annoying in certain respect when it's not that well thought out. So what we've done with SurfAble Scotland is done everything in reverse. So once we became disability and condition confident, then we took in everyone else. So we almost kind of did inclusion in reverse. So that we only became inclusive to 2021. So after being established in 2015, 2017 as an adaptive. So that was a kind of working model we've done it. It was part of that plan as well. We wanted a full pathway into competitive level, and that meant the Worlds as well. And proud to being able to kind of achieve that and given the opportunity to so many people from now on in to represent their nation in the world competitions.
I mean, I think it goes without speaking. We all met at the Wave when me and Pete were down there, and we were doing some filming, and I ended up filming for you guys, which was an absolute pleasure. You know, I was already aware of SurfAble Scotland, but you know, sometimes it's easy to be aware of stuff without being really aware of what it actually is. So to see it physically in person, what was going on, and the effort and the background stuff that goes with it. So it's not just pushing someone onto a wave. I mean, we've surfed today, and you know, seeing you having gone from the wave, seeing how that controlled, safe environment to suddenly surfing in the ocean where I've not seen it. And I saw when you came out, I think I'd caught a wave. I was coming back out. Yous were in front of me, and yous managed to sort of boost over the top of a breaking wave, and then the next one just absolutely destroyed you. And Jade was off the board. You were like, "Where's the board? Where's Jade?" And I was like, in my head, I was like, lifeguard kicked in. I was like, "Oh my god, I need to do a rescue." I was like, "Lifeguard rescue!" And then
I've no idea what you're talking about. It's under control at all times, mate. I have no idea what you mean.
No, full control. But to see it in person and where you've taken it, and us having an actually invested interest in seeing it now, from going from there, and suddenly you were out at the Olympics when Jade was competing is the first Paralympic surfer in Scotland. Is that right?
Yeah. So you're right enough. You've seen a bit of a journey that Jade's been on, and we speak about Jade because she was eligible for that physical impairment category, and because she'd taken to this sport so well, she just surfing had captured her, and she was in close touch with us through the family coming round. She was at the perfect stage for just exploring and going into parasurfing, adaptive surfing and parasurfing. Parasurfing is the name that's now being kind of associated over adaptive surfing for that competitive kind of pathway.
Right.
And so it was amazing catching you at the the wave, and that was her first time at a comp. And then obviously the Worlds was amazing. Just given that opportunity.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
I know what you mean about that controlled environment at the wave. But the waves were still, that was the biggest waves Jade had ever been in. Like the power in those, that setting was punchy. Sure, yeah. And so it was a big step up. And at the same time, even out today, it was a case of having so much time with Jade. We're so in tune, especially it's such a personal thing being a pusher or catcher and assisting somebody to that level in the water. So you have to be so in tune with how they're feeling at all time.
Definitely,
so the first couple of minutes, unsure, hadn't surfed since December, she'd never been surfing in February before, so it was a very tentative thing. We planned to do a half-hour session today and just give that experience. But 10 minutes into the session, after catching a couple of wipeouts, and then you can just see the tension just drops. We're honed into the the sets that day, the energy in the waiter that day, and then it was just a great session.
And what I hate to do is I hate to bring Pete down, but Jade had so many more waves than Pete today.
Just surfed round him, really. Just.
I would be embarrassed.
I'm going to use a word that I don't normally use on the podcast. That I normally bleep out for you in a minute. I hate Scotland. I want to go back to England.
I know the game was a tough result yesterday, mate, but go easy.
That don't bother me at all. I can't stand rugby, so it don't bother me.
At date of recording, just for the record, I'd like to state, get it up, you!
Third time cock on a cup winners here.
I don't even like rugby. I love that rugby. Sorry, fans.
He's like, do you want to watch the rugby? I don't like rugby. He said, neither do I, but I'm watching it. It's like, all right then. But no, like going back to actually something both of you said then is like the wording, and I think a lot of people out there struggle with the wording of what you're supposed to say, and I think so many people feel that a lot of things are so PC now that they're not sure what words they can use, what they can and can't say, and like something you were saying earlier, so they don't do anything. They rather just, instead of maybe offending someone, just go, actually, I won't do anything.
Bollocks arse to all.
Be more like my daughter and just don't care.
You know,
and it is that, being and you were the same, Glenn, but being a father of a different child.
Yeah,
it's not the disability; it's the ability of what they're able to be able to do, and given the opportunity to do that, and you tying up with these guys, it's like how do we get to where we need to go, and will we just find a path as to how to get there? And I think that's the best thing.
It's literally solution hunting. So I think the majority, everyone has the best intentions. There's this kind of whole argument, arrogance versus ignorance, I always think, and you can't change arrogance, unfortunately. You do develop a thick skin as parents. You become uber protective and so on, because you're obviously, your offspring is slightly more vulnerable possibly in terms of being understanding and aware of the situation around them, and especially it works vice versa as well. So you'll get the ignorance, which is kind of good in a sense, because actually you can change ignorance, you can't change arrogance.
Definitely,
so it's working towards that, but ultimately it's really funny because I mean, oh god, right, okay, let's take it back a year ago. In fact, it was a year ago, and we were delivering a session local, and somebody picked me up on the fact that I wasn't allowed to call them inspirational because they didn't feel they were.
I was going to get to this very thing. Let finish
forward.
So, and do you know what? I think it's in the eyes of the beholder. So, if I think like Pete, I think you're inspirational. Pete, you probably go, do you know what?
This is a hypothetical, obviously.
Pete would go, fuck off, what's wrong with you? I'm leaving.
not based on the surfing.
What do you want? No, not based on the surfing.
That's too deep, that is. That's too deep.
Okay, I'm trying to give you a boost here. So, but the fact is, you don't really have a say in that. If I think you're inspirational, it's not offensive in terms of my eyes.
For sure.
And I think in the tense or maybe even not, I think you're inspirational, or maybe it's a case of I think you are inspiring too many others. So where does that, and I think I get it, I really do, but I think it's important to actually not play yourself down.
I think because I think that reason someone says to people with either disabilities or, see, even myself, I don't know which is the correct word to use, like adaptive disabilities, or I think people say inspirational that way because they look at it and go, you've got a physical disability that is holding you back from an able-bodied person, and you're doing it, making it look easy, or a lot of the times making it look better than, say, me as an able-bodied person. That to me is inspirational, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's saying there's someone that's inspirational, but I think we've got that thing again where it's too much. There's too much play on now the words people use when they mean them in the best, the best possible way. And I think, but it's really difficult to explain.
I know where you're going.
People are going to go. The people that normally are the people that get most offended are the people it doesn't actually affect. I find that with a lot of things.
I think I know what you mean. I think I know what you mean in terms of over the last 5 to 10 years, us as practitioners in the world of conditions and disability, language, if that's the right way to say it, has changed massively. What is correct is no longer correct. Beg your pardon, sorry. But what you said there about it coming from the right place.
Yeah.
So everyone that we work with, they know our role there is to give assistance, to be person-centred, so to find out just how much assistance they need.
Yeah.
It is very, very easy in a care role to give a lot more help than is needed, and that takes away some independence and opportunity for growth.
Right, okay.
So especially when you're new to that, or you're new, when I began working at the pool, I had no lived experience. I had not anyone in my family, never met a friend, had nobody who had maybe a communication barrier or additional support for learning. So it was very, very daunting at the time. But again, as Glyn always says, a quote that we use all the time is 90% approach and 10% knowledge.
Yeah.
So I know what you mean about how there's a worry to be offensive.
Yeah.
It almost comes down to putting people into boxes and groups, like when you start speaking about disabled people. When you put people in any sort of group, within that group, that box that we've kind of devised, you've got a huge range. They're all individuals. We've got folk that, as you said, they may have an impairment in one part in their life, but the area of independence they have in other parts of their lives, their mental strength is far beyond, their ability. So you end up looking way past the identification, the label that's attached. And one thing we're very wary of is not when we're trying to say this is Jade, for example, not putting quadruple amputee just straight up. Like newspaper headlines and things. Yeah, Jade's a person who's got her own personality and individuality. Yes, this is a major part of her life, but it doesn't need to be there.
It doesn't have to be.
It doesn't define her.
Yeah,
it doesn't define the person.
No, for sure.
I think this is really good because from my own point of view, I can't speak for everyone else, but from my own point of view, I often find that I'm not sure what the correct words to use are, or well, most of the time I can't even get my words out properly. You'd have known if you listen to any of the podcasts. But I'm not sure what I'm supposed to say or what is right or what is wrong to say. And it's one of those things you just sort of end up like, I'm not sure what to say. And it's, like you're saying, it's looking past that. And I think that's what people need to understand, more, myself included, understand more, is looking past that and like everything you just said.
Would this be fair to say? It's very easy to be scared of disabilities. If you don't have that lived experience, and which has been amazing for some of the projects we've run with swimming and surfing, is that a lot of our volunteers do not have lived experience. Yeah. And that's very rare. Normally, if you've got support groups or networks that come together within the world of disabilities or conditions, then everyone involved in that group has that connection, whether it's their kids, their family members, and that's why they're there. But a great thing for us is that number of input with no experience at all. So it's very easy to be scared around the language, scared about saying something wrong. Yeah. But if you are stepping forward with the will and the want to help somebody, all the people we work with, ranging in different abilities, ages, cognitively or physically, they're going to pick up on your will to help, and the rest melts away.
But I can really tie into what Pete's saying as well. So when we filmed the event at the Wave, and that was the English adaptives, is that right? I kind of knew where I was going with it, putting the post together and everything. And normally when I write the bio to go with the post, and it was on YouTube and all the other social media platforms, Surfing England posted it, and, it went everywhere. When I was writing the bio, actually I was immediately reminded of conversations we had at the Wave. And because I think it wasn't even you didn't say it as a point of contention, it was just a conversation within a conversation. And suddenly when I was writing this bio, you'd mentioned that, exactly like we've just said, it's not about, if I'm using Jade as an example, it's not about her being a quad amputee, it's about her being a surfer, and that should be at the forefront. So suddenly I'm thinking, actually, while I might have originally written, this is an adaptive surf event, and the story's about somebody with these restrictions getting over them, actually it doesn't have to be at all. The story should just be about, this is a surfer, gearing towards this.
It's about people.
It's about people,
At the end of the day, everybody who takes part in any sport is going to be judged against their peers, and if their peers are in the same have the same kind of physical attributes or mental attributes, then it's just about people.
Yeah, it's for sure.
I think, and going back to your point about not knowing what to say, I think you just have to go with, all right.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I don't mean I don't not so much on the just normal conversation, but I think there's like words in there that like it was disabled, then it was adaptive, and then you say it's like para, and like the language keeps changing, and I think it's people trying to keep up. Like I'm like, oh fuck, I said the wrong thing. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like my uncle's blind, right? And I always say like something like I go like, oh, did you see that? And I just think, oh shit, and he laughs about
course
it.
I
Like
didn't,
he walk into something, and he go, oh, I didn't see that there. Like, and he makes fun of that fact, and he knows when I say something like that he's going to then take the piss out of me.
That's
for like
nothing. Scott, how many times did you say, I forget his name, sorry, how many times did you say blown away to injured vets? I'm blown away by your story. I'm like, oh shit.
There was a guy, I'm literally trying to remember this story, digging into the bills in my mind, but there was a guy that had he had a football team written. What's the Liverpool? What's the Liverpool slogan? Liverpool Football Club.
You
never walk alone, isn't it?
Never walk. He was a Scouser, Liverpool fan, limb blown off, an Afghan, and he had that never walk alone. But it was where they cut, and you'd think the surgeon would have been, maybe I'll cut a bit deeper. It literally was left remaining, and it said, "Never will I walk." Like,
you said you'll never walk.
Or you'll never walk, innit? You'll never walk. You think you would have cut that further down, further up? Like, come on. I think that guy actually went on, what was that tattoo program that was on, for rubbish tattoos getting fixed?
Tattoo
Fixers. Yeah. I literally said it, tattoos getting fixed. I don't know how they came up with the name.
This is what I mean about language.
It's really refreshing though, and it's really important to have that kind of, sort of highly entertaining but very deep but and very dark sometimes, but it's just refreshing. It's so good. It's like almost facing it head on. I could recite a book with the amount of stories that come across for comedy element side of things. But coming back to inclusion, for example, I just wanted to say that actually I think and hope that it's just a temporary vehicle, the word inclusion. So in 20 years' time from now, actually, inclusion, what do you mean by that? So
no, I totally hear you. You're absolutely right, because actually the topic of the conversation in itself, it shouldn't have to be its own generic. It should just be, that's it. That's how it is.
Absolutely.
It's a bit like, it frustrates me when, what's his name, grey hair, Phil, TV guy. The TV guy does Morning with... Oh my God. Philip Schofield. When he came out as gay, and hats off, fair play and all that stuff. But if it's not a big deal being gay, why is it still a big deal on the news about that? And we're probably going to get hate mail for this. But the thing is, for me, it's not a big deal. So why is it why am we making it a big deal? Why does it have to be a point of conversation? It should just be, if that's normal, we shouldn't have to talk about it.
Because it's ingrained. It's ingrained in here. That if someone's different, you make a comment about it. And I think the conversation that are happening now about whether it's adaptive, whether it's para, it just shows the kind of changing nature of the whole beast. And I think the very fact that we're having a conversation about it.
We're still putting a label on it. I feel like it's a generational thing though,
I think
as well.
Got that same thing of though. There's been like so many different groups of people, and sexuality and stuff have had so long. Erased everything, of been repressed for so long that they felt like they've had to really shout about it, and now more and more people are starting to be accepted. Accept is not the right word. You know what I mean? It's becoming more normal, and these things will become less and less. I think in the
this
long
is what
term.
we're talking about. The language and wording.
The
obvious thing to say has been accepted, but actually we would all understand that doesn't sound right to say that, does it? Because it's not about, you shouldn't be accepted. As if we will allow you in. But
accept you.
so you turn around and say, so they don't feel excluded. Rather than.
So no one feels excluded. And I mean, that's the way it's got to go. You can't carry on with the way things have been. And I think, like you've all said so far, it is getting better and it is moving in that right direction.
Sometimes. I don't think you'll ever avoid offending people. The worry you said with the language about offending people, you could have one term, for example, or you could have one condition, and some people with that condition will view it as a disability. Others will say, don't tarnish me with disability because I have that same condition. It could be CP, cerebral palsy, it could be a single amputation. They will refuse that term. So again, we, to make things easy to discuss, we'll put people in boxes, things like disability. But again, it just comes down to the person. You'll have two people with the same condition who are just not the same at all, because the condition is only one part that makes up us. There's so many more bigger parts. I think what you said about not being able to offend people, sometimes you can't help it. But when it's not meant, and you're open to learn, and if you've accidentally caused offence and you're able to discuss it afterwards, you're laughing, you're golden.
So, on changing the subject slightly from there, who would you say gets the most out of the surf sessions, you or the participant?
It's equal. It has to be equal.
The parents.
See, I had this. I went
take them for an hour.
Parents. I went to Surfability in Caswell. I was saying earlier, and me and Leighton, who was a great guy before I had this other guy with me. We went out in the water with them, and the transformation in the students that were, having the lesson and getting out surfing before and afterwards was amazing. But also, like you just said, the parents, I know it was said in a joking way, but it's that bit of seeing your child having great fun, but you're also sort of getting a rest at the same time. Is that fair to say?
In some respects, but it's I can only speak about Jade and about the way that she interacts with the pushers, the instructors, the water, and the way it does change her. She becomes a different kid. She's a completely different kid when she's in the water. When she comes out of the water, over the last, since coming back from California, you could see there's something missing. Yeah. We have been kind of itching. We want to get her back in the water, and it's blooming freezing. But it does make a massive change to the way that she can relate to things and develop, and her outlook on life is much better when she's in the water.
Yeah.
Which is testament to the fact that it does a lot of healing. Which I suppose
in a way that also does make your life easier. When
100%.
Yeah. When her life's going easier and she feels in a better place, and there's better things going on, it's going to make everyone around.
What's the saying? Say happy life, happy wife. But it's not my wife. Well, is she happier when Jade's in the water for sure? Yeah. But our family works better as a result of a conversation that we had on a beach, a year and a half ago. Yeah.
And where did you guys discover SurfAble or surfing? How did that?
Well,
Kev again was in your room at 3 o'clock in the morning.
It wasn't quite on the room at 3 o'clock in the morning, but it was on a beach about 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
It's been picked up on the stories. I want to clear this up actually, and I've no prime opportunity to be able to do this. So, Pete, Mitch, I read it in the papers first actually to say, Kev came up to me, this is to Jade's words, and said to my mum, I see you've got a disabled daughter. Do you fancy her? I can't imagine Kev would say this, so I want to just clear this up right now.
And Lisa just said, no, actually we've got 2. Of course they would, There you go. But it was a pure chance. Because we'd seen we were on holiday in Hopeman, and we'd seen the SurfAble van, and thought, oh, okay, that looks interesting, and then never even thought anything more about it, to be honest. And it has been a pure chance.
It ties into what you said about not causing offence. So when we are at operations at the beach, one thing I won't do, even out and about, SurfAble hoodies, or you see somebody in a chair that you think that something tells me, looking at that person, they might really enjoy it, that they're just at that stage where this could be something for them. And I'm very, very conscious never to go over to an individual and family and say, hey, you're in a wheelchair. Would you like to come and surf
You're
with
in
us?
luck.
Yeah, looky here. So I try to find that icebreaker, that way to introduce. And normally I'd go over and say,
slip on a banana or something like that. Hey.
I think it was the wetsuit, half wetsuit down, naked and half body, and curly hair, striding along the beach. It was that kind of sight.
That's not me. It doesn't sound right. So to just try to say, hi, I'm Kev. I work for SurfAble. Is it something you've heard of before?
Yeah.
And try to introduce something, and try not to highlight you. Yeah. I see you, or try to avoid those you languages and just kind of come into start off a conversation. This is what we do.
This is the first time maybe in this sort of far northeast. I've never come up this way. I've always wanted to come and surf, sort of Aberdeen, Fraserburgh way. And it's great to have the reason to come up and what a surf I had today. Hello, Pete. But you've got a good, strong surf community up here, I believe. Is that right? Is it quite strong?
Yeah, I would say so. I think Scotland in general like to see things are growing and connections are being made, networks are being made.
Yeah, yeah.
And obviously the waves come into Edinburgh, which is going to be amazing for adaptive surfing.
Sure.
All going in the right direction. We've definitely seen growth, and it's something with our template to, again, using those words, inclusion or accessibility. If we can show some of what's worked for us, some of those good practices, some of the bits that have been really helpful, and if we can start to even just from the coaching but the organisation standpoint as well, and how you can help people maybe put a strand which helps with the funding, because it is something that's very, very to help somebody in the water, you're needing a higher ratio of support, and it means more training involved, so there is obviously going to be more training, more costs. So if there's a way that we can template the success of what we've had so far so that we are growing, but then that can maybe be copied, it's just continuing to promote accessibility, promote what works.
How do you do funding and get funding at the moment?
So we were lucky at the start off. We got a cash injection from a local supermarket, and that helped us with kit. And while we were at that pilot stage, we were all voluntary, so costs were low, and the results were amazing. The jump from being a voluntary organisation for your core staff to having a couple of core staff that are actually able to leave their present employment or past employment and then put more, Springboard was huge. Like the amount of time we could engage, the regular sessions that people could come to that. If you're only going to be able to surf once or twice a month, the progress is going to be lower. Of course, if you can come more often and more frequent, then we were able to build stronger relationships with the surfers, and the progress was just huge. We were able to deliver a service which was reliable as well, because if there's only a couple of weekends available a month, then you might not see people for months. So all the results just hugely improved. We had core funding for a couple of years, and now we are in the market for funding. If anyone would like to fund Scotland's or the world's most northern surf therapy and adaptive surf centre, then
I know. Did you want to mention the one we're setting up in Orkney? Rethink your name.
I'm not forgetting a little plug there into Para Surf Scotland if we're going back to California at the end of this year as well. So we had literally yeehaw time to raise funds for that. We did exceptionally well, but we've got bags of time in front of us, hopefully, to try and secure a potential sponsor or
two. About government funding and stuff.
Unfortunately not, Mitch. So we're kind of sort of. I mean, obviously we're working in partnership with the Scottish Surfing Federation, which is fantastic. They're putting a tremendous amount of effort into this as well. They are our governing body, and it's a brilliant partnership to be involved with. So we'll jointly look at that and see where we can go with that. To be honest, it was just we were on our arse before heading off to California, just with the amount of stuff that we had to do. It was the first time Scotland entered the Para World Championships. So it's all completely new. Talk about wet behind the ears. So
that was a fun learning curve, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, no, totally. And I find out I don't really particularly travel long haul flights particularly well.
Right, okay.
So I'm coming through. Where's the bathroom? So that was.
You didn't have two small children with you. Whereas, we did long haul with two small children.
And
horrendous. It was horrific.
I can only imagine.
I tell you, Diacam would take them as a potential sponsorship. So anyone works at Diacam is listening to this podcast. What's wrong? Is that too much information? Let's move away from that. So
there's something I'm curious about. Is and I'll come on to the competitive bit in a minute, because I suppose there's two boxes here. There's the just people going out and surfing and using surfing, and there's the competitive side. Well, I'll come back to the competitive bit in a minute. But I'm curious about the challenges you guys had setting up, because taking into account different abilities, different disabilities, different, needs and requirements. What were the challenges trying to, because it's not just a case of here's a surfboard with a handle on it, because that's not going to work for everyone.
I think the biggest challenge was probably the eye-watering prices. You have to invest in trying to get. I mean, you're not just talking about the boards, but you're also talking about the beach wheelchairs and how all the beach wheelchairs are so different in the way they operate. So actually, where one beach wheelchair will be good in one location, it may not be good for another location, and maybe too wide, maybe too narrow. There's just so many things to kind of really think about. So we're kind of sort of working our way through. I mean, do you know what the biggest difference something makes is sometimes often the smallest. So the likes of risers on surfboards. I mean, it's brilliant to see kind of float introduced boards, off the shelf boards now from Portugal, where kind of sort of grab handles and risers for the chest and so on. And they'll suit the majority, but not everyone. So the likes of what Surfability UK use, which is brilliant, the kind of sort of foam wedges that you kind of sort of, they're different shapes and you can stick in place. And what a simple, effective idea. And it doesn't need to cost the world. You're not having to swap out a board each time. You can just add a little bit of modification to the existing board, which is fantastic.
Okay.
Something like the seated tandem boards that we have an offer of sliders on them, so that the weight distribution of the surfer and the instructor can actually be kind of altered slightly depending on the weight of them.
Do you mind if I go bigger? If I go broader?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I was just thinking, we've got plans submitted, looking at building Scotland's surf therapy centre. So adaptive changing. So changing spaces, 30 metre squared. Just the the excellent example of track and ceiling hoists, adjustable beds. So changing facilities up in the north of Scotland, it's access to beaches. There's a couple that are okay, but some are a struggle. Many are a struggle. So while we are doing what we hope is going to be an example of excellence for changing and adaptive sport, the rest around us, if people come up from north of England, Perth, Midlothian, to come and surf for a day, I wouldn't say there's much in the option for adaptive accommodation in our neck of the woods as well. So while we are really striving to deliver the best we can and to give the highest standard and put accessibility for the north of Scotland on the map, I think we're ahead of the curve a little bit.
We are ahead of the curve. There's a thing called the Purple Pound as well. So generally it's a full military operation when you've got somebody with significant impairments to venture out. So they need that support, that additional support. That could mean one person, two people. It could mean a whole family. That's what meant by the Purple Pound. So you're not obviously, the local economy, for example, in that particular area isn't just kind of welcoming one person, then it's inviting everyone around that person, supporting that person. So So the potential is huge.
I'm trying to say there's money involved. There's money.
Yeah. So coming down to the likes of volunteers, we'll rely absolutely hugely on. We only have one part-time paid member of staff within the organisation. Most of us put in probably double the amount of hours and love it to bits. But mostly half that time spent on funding applications.
I think that's why one of the things I asked earlier, who gets the most out of it, because that one day I went to like Surfability, like I was buzzing off that day for months, and it's still like still thinking about it now. Like I'm gonna end up doing another fucking charity, giving another board away, aren't I? Bollocks. Did a charity thing for them, and like we auctioned off my board and a load of other stuff, and like gave the money to them for that. And it's
you weren't needing it, were you? So
I didn't hear that. What
you weren't needing it.
I got to edit this, mate. Don't you worry. I'm just going to edit all your words together, so you just insult everybody, and I'll say, well, he wasn't very nice on language, was he?
I won't do that on the video one. I'll make you look even better.
I know. I'm blaming Mitch's board. He gave me the worst board ever. Firewire is a 4x2.
I actually looked at a good board. I was into
it. Fucking liar. All three of you said it. No, all two of you went in the water. Both of you said it. Both of you like, looks a bit flat. It was like a 1 litre.
1 litre.
Scott, Mitch never said anything to me about, don't tell Pete I've given him the shitboard.
Yeah. What makes it worse is when I got out of the water, you were like, oh, I got these 9.6 foamies in the back. You could have used one of these.
You got seats on them and all sorts. It would be perfect for you. You had your lunch.
I don't want to talk about it. I was going to say it was worse than the first. I haven't surfed that bad since the first day I surfed. But the first day I surfed, I at least caught 1 wave.
Yeah. Well, Kev offered to pull you in on one.
Yeah. Anyway.
That's nice, isn't it? So, back to the podcast stuff. So, I guess let's talk about the competitive stuff. What I've been really curious about, and this really racks my brain from a competitive surfing aspect, is how, from a national governing body or from I guess it's the ISA that hosts the Paralympic stuff, how do you score competition fairly? Is it based against the I'm struggling for the words now.
I'm leaving you.
Is it based against the disability? Is it, because there's obviously fully able blind surfers. How do you score that fairly to some like Jade, for example?
It's quite
Help
fun.
me
I'm
out.
going to let Kev answer this in a moment. It isn't fair, but it's as fair as it can be. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah.
Use that word, using word of fairness. Yeah.
So obviously disability and impairments hugely varying, hugely widely, variety, and impact people differently. There are 9 divisions currently in the ISA
right.
para pathway. 2 prone, only 1 category out of those 9 can you have pushers and catchers, people that will physically assist getting through the waves, catching waves in the water. 3 standing, depending on where your amputation, or the wording they'll use is amputation or similar disability that will impact the mobility of that limb. There are 2 blind, one for profoundly blind and one for visually impaired with some level of vision. There's wave ski, which is amazing to watch. And there's kneeling. So yeah, there's 9 divisions.
Okay.
And I think what you said about it, that's it. It's the best. It's very, very difficult to do a pathway or a division, a classification for everyone. For the prone, for example, so you're lying on your front, a surfer could have cerebral palsy and will have very limited movement on one side to lean on one rail. So where they twist from left to right, one will have a bigger range of movement. So on the other side of their board, they're going to have very limited ability to arc in and interact with the wave. They'll be in the same category as another surfer who may have a double leg amputation and very small residual limb. And of course, both hugely significant impairments. But the person with the double limb amputation, what we've seen, their ability to work the rail on both rails, their range of movement was higher. But from the ISA standpoint or competitive standpoint, you cannot have categories for everything. There would be 100 categories.
Yeah,
and
for
100
sure.
medals.
Say that as you were going through them. Yeah, it's a difficult, isn't it? Because like you were saying, there'd be so many categories, and I mean, you could have 20 people with the same amputation, but they all 20 of them don't want to surf, so they're not going to be in that category.
In the competition in California, I think it was the Australian, one of the Australian team. There was 2 competitors actually in Jade's heat. That one of the lassies was really very, very unhappy because she knew that the lassie she was competing with, who beat her in or got a better score in the rounds, was able to do far more than she was. So even within that team, there's still a lot of jibing or
So that one came about.
Competitor, I suppose.
That one came about. It's obviously the each nation, they're working on home events to build this global network where we're all on the same page, and the hope is that in 2028 we'll be accepted in the LA Paralympics. So far there's not been a Paralympic, and I know the word, and it's just a transfer of word, and there's been para world events, but they've not been associated with the Paralympics.
Right.
So everyone has got their fingers crossed for this next year. So within the nations there may be slight variations of the rules just from understanding. So within that prone category that Jade and the 2 Australian surfers were, there's one that was paddling independently with the pusher, but paddling and using their arms or using their hand to initiate a turn by putting a brake in the water and paddling around. And that's totally within the rules, but there was a little bit of, oh, that's not normally done kind of thing. So there was just a little bit, and that's sport. You're always going to find that.
That's
an
advantage.
advantage. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And how competitive did you find it when they were in the water in the heats? Were they super competitive? Or?
Hugely. They're professional athletes, and what's the best thing about it is it's a baby sport in one sense of things, but I don't know an example of a sport that has grown so fast, and the sharing of knowledge. And these athletes, it's very, very powerful, and I think important to hone in on the individual stories and what we said about offence earlier, because some of these stories are inspiring, and others won't want that and won't want that inspiration. I'll refer to Sponge Llewellyn, who got, was it Wales' first gold medal? Now, Sponge is a one-leg amputee from a car crash, but Sponge rips way more than I ever will. So that changes the discussion on disability. That's going to be down to, and I've not spoken to Sponge about this, but it'll be down to him to know in certain conversations with certain people, this term might be useful, this term might not be useful. It's down to a very individual thing. But all these athletes are leveling up themselves. They're promoting themselves. They're in the zone. They're training hard, but that whole playing field's rising. They're challenging each other. So the whole sport, the competitive element's very healthy. There's always going to be little things and little rules, and the difficulty when you asked about the rules, how do you make that work? But what's bigger and encompassing about that is this whole sport is supporting each other and improving each other. The competitive is huge.
I think that's the one. That's the main word there. Everything seems to be improving, and it's starting to go in that direction. I know there's a lot of work to do still, and there's a lot of things to sort out and wording to sort out, and it'd be great in a perfect world if someone could go, right, this is what we're going to call it, and this is where we go, and everyone knew what they were doing. But things are moving in the right directions. So what does that mean for your future of the club? I want to say club. Do you call it a club? Do you call it a
SurfAble's a charity, and then we've worked with the SSF for the para strand. And so it's what you said, Scott, about how there's surfing for an activity or surfing for a lifestyle and introducing surfing. And there's those that have decided, like Jade and a couple others that we're working on for future events, that we think, one, their disability will allow them to meet the categories, the classification. What do we call it when you get assessed? You need to meet the criteria to join that category of surfing. If they deem that your range of movement or your ability is too much, then there is a process and assessment to go through. So SurfAble's got beginner sessions, intermediate sessions for those that are able-bodied or need extra assistance for a range of reasons, through to those that the para pathway exists. So for those that meet that criteria and want to get something out of para surfing, so we've got the two strands, if that makes sense. And hopefully the future is just to grow them all. Glyn always says it's about giving that opportunity. Of course, surfing's not for everyone. Competitive surfing's not for everyone.
No.
It might be more soul surfing and lifestyle surfing. But if we can introduce these opportunities, introduce these grassroots, and just give the opportunity with the right amount of support and encouragement.
Yeah, I mean, whether you guys like it or not, I am going to refer to you as inspirational, because just from chatting to you now and chatting to you at the Wave, like, yous are taking us forward from where yous have started, and I don't think it could be on a better footing and a start point from what yous bring to it, and it's clear and abundant how much you get out of it, and giving back and giving people who aren't as fortunate, that, because I know what surfing does for me, and
Do you know what surfing does for me? Fuck
No.
all after today.
So I think it's in absolute safe hands under the control of you guys and all the team and all the volunteers and all the surfers. And I did wonder how many surfers you have and how many athletes you do have sort of on a regular turn up to the events.
Oh, if I can you remember the infographic? 100
so we've actually got 200.
Oh, wow.
So a quarter of those are 18 and above. So
Okay.
So 3/4 are generally
Right.
In fact, actually, I think it's more than that at the ratio split. But yeah, so they are regular. So we've obviously got ones coming beyond that.
Yeah.
I mean, our obviously our kind of geographics based where we are and what's around us is that we've got a captive audience, basically north of England. People have come over from Malig in the west and down from Caithness as well. So it's good. It's obviously for them, it's a bit of a shame because, I mean, blimey, we went on a mini Stoke tour a couple of years ago. That's when our van was working. Our van's not particularly working well at the moment, but we've plugged that. We've got a new van coming in 2 months. It's great. It's superb. So anyway, we went when the van was working down to Pease Bay, went to Dunbar, and what we were finding was a lot of people coming in from Central Belt saying, "Oh, it's fantastic. It's brilliant when you're down here, again, guys." And we're saying, "Well, we're not. You have to come and see us." And it's quite unusual actually to find something outside Central Belt area where it's a highly densely populated area where people do have to travel. So unlike of our rural kind of heathens traveling into Central Belt.
I suppose that's a difficult thing. Like, ideally, would you like to be able to travel all over Scotland and do these lessons? And
I think it's just to kind of share the story. We'd love to see other places, other clubs. Kind of share
matter what you're doing, kind of thing.
Yeah, and build. The future kind of
SurfAble
surf teams. Yeah.
Here we go. There's an idea for you.
Speaking of your SurfAble franchise, so where can people find you online and give you money or come along or
sponsor
you or whatever they want to do for you?
Yeah, so if you just go on to surfable.org.uk, we're on Insta under SurfAble Scotland, Facebook, usual. There's plenty of stuff on there too, and if more importantly, if you're listening to this whenever you're listening to it and say, do you know what, this appeals to me, I'd quite like to try this as a volunteer or even a surfer, then just get in touch with us.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
And I mean, we spoke to some of the kids as well, and we'll put them on now as well.
Nice.
We'll bleep it out when we need to.
What, you mean we're not the kids?
Their language is far worse than yours.
Can I just ask something as well? It's a question to you, Pete. Is that when we were doing our training bit over in Cali one of the days, and it was busy. It was busy on the one side of the pier where the competition wasn't actually happening, and I was catching. Kev, you were pushing, and Jade was trimming a wave, and then she got wiped out, and then there was this guy coming from behind, and it was just like traveling, and I was thinking, why is he's coming right for her? Went straight over the top of her. Fins, I'm thinking the fins are going to cut here. I was expecting the worst and everything. I was all ready to give this guy a real bollock, and do you know what? Turned out to could have been potentially Pete's uncle. It was a visually impaired surfer.
I mean,
do you know?
Couldn't have been Pete. It couldn't have been related to Pete if the guy caught a wave. Yeah, fun drive back.
Do you know what?
It's been nice to have a group of people who join in and take the piss out of Pete. It's not only aimed at me.
Do you know what? It's fine. It's fine. I had the worst surf ever. It's fine. They happen. I told you.
I've got you here.
I'm gonna start playing golf and I'll be fine. That's why I said earlier. Scotland's got so many fucking golf courses because they're all failed surfers.
But I just wanted to say that we talk about surfing etiquette, and for us it's been mentioned on a few of your previous podcasts and everything else. Is just be aware. It could be an adapted surfer or a para surfer out there, so which is something else to kind of put into the pot. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, that's something we've never addressed before on any episode. Which, even on the better episodes before you were here, that you'll be getting it now tenfold for the next 4 or 5 weeks. I forgot what I was going to say now. Yeah,
that's what happens.
Yeah, great.
See? That's instant karma.
That's
I
it.
think that's what that's called.
No, it's something we've never addressed. That how etiquette would actually have to change in that circumstance of para surfer being there. That the etiquette it won't be able to work exactly the same.
I guess it's just being aware of your surroundings.
Does that make sense?
Isn't it?
Because it's not like you're saying earlier, being treated equally and the same, but there has to be some. If you've got a pusher and a catcher in the water, you can't go, well, it's my fucking wave, I'm coming through. You know what I mean? It's you've got a.
It worked
got
a
to
little
make some
bit today.
allowances.
Like taking out Jade in the water today, the waves were admittedly a little bit bigger than I thought they were going to be. So we didn't take fins in the van with us. We would rely on fins to hold on to our surf athlete and kick and propel through. So we didn't have that. I was slower. So I was, we were making our way to the lineup slower than we would have been. And there was definitely a couple of occasions where yourselves and other surfers gave us extra room, did not go on a takeoff. So that allowance was there. That allowance would be there for any beginner, I'm sure. The other thing from, again, it's a level playing field we're looking for when we're promoting accessibility. We're not looking for over and enough to make it safe and accessible, but we don't want special treatment. And so at the same time,
and that's why I was going to drop in on
Jade,
because I
you
wanted
could
to,
see, but
I don't want to get you special treatment. I was going to go for it.
That was the one that was I let it go, and it was just a perfect barrel. I was in the right place, and I would have got the best wave of my life. But I just let it go today.
So at the same time, I have to make sure that Jade 1 is ready for that wave, that she's going to be safe, comfortable, and enjoy it.
Yeah.
That 2, that we've got a setup that's safe to other people as well. Because otherwise, you've just got a person who's not safe in the lineup.
Yeah, I think awareness is everything,
be,
isn't it? Like in anything in life.
And here's a little thing for you as well. I have conversations with Jade quite often about different things, and I'm sure that she doesn't see herself as disabled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She. There was one time I was taking Lindsay up a hill, and I said to Jade, and Jade said to me, "Can I come?" And I was like, "Well, I'd love you to come, but you ain't got no legs, love. It's as simple as that. It's going to be really difficult, but I want to try. And I eventually got a bit animated and said, "Look, you're disabled. You can't do that." And she says, "No, I'm not disabled. I can do it." I was like, "Okay, maybe she actually thinks that she's not disabled." So. She doesn't want to be treated any. She knows there has to be dispensation given to her, but it's the platform that she's got to be able to do it. Within her psyche that actually I'm not that disabled and I can do it better than you guys. I can do it
totally.
Do it better than me today. Yeah.
I mean, I went to get a light from the van before we started filming, and I came because I didn't want to run, so I jumped on my surf skate to come back. And Jade's out there bombing about now, or she was when I came back. Like I struggled to catch up. I was like, oh my god.
So it's just the way that she thinks, and I'm sure everybody else who's in that position or a similar kind of position is like, I want to do it, I can do it. I just need to find the way to do it best.
Awesome.
Well, I think it's been great meeting you guys.
It has been a pleasure,
Yeah. And unless there's anything else you want to say, we'll work it. We'll play the kids in either here or before, wherever we played it. And thanks for having us along and taking the piss out of me in the water. And
you done all the work yourself, really.
It's from support. It's because we hope
it's
that
love,
it's
and
going
that's
to
only
inspire
part
you
one,
to
Pete. For us, say we've got another trip here marked. Is Pete up here again to come to Scotland?
Yeah. He's never fucking come to Scotland again. I told you I want to go home to England. I like it there.
Remember what I told you about the good days and the bad days? So the next time you come up here will be a good day. So
maybe it'll be coming up to watch Scotland in the World Cup. Oh no, wait.
I tell you what though, Scotland didn't get knocked out of the World Cup, did they, this year?
Did they not?
No.
Yeah.
We didn't get beat once in the World Cup final.
Oh no, you didn't get in.
Yeah, but we didn't get beat, did we? It's the same thing. We didn't get beat. You got to find the positive, Pete.
That's all my sport knowledge out now. Done. Rugby, because you were watching it yesterday. A little bit of football. I'm out. I can talk to you about skateboarding, but I'm out then.
Podcast ends.
You excited to talk?
Yeah.
Have you got a lot to say?
No.
You got nothing to say. Excited to talk with nothing to say. We go away and ask some questions. So
Lindsay, you got your hand up already.
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. I thought you had an opening line to start with. So I'll tell you what. How about we do this? How about you tell us who you are? What's your name?
Lindsay.
Lindsay, and where are you from?
Scotland.
You're from Scotland. Whereabouts in Scotland?
Aberdeen.
You're from Aberdeen. And who else have we got in the room?
Jade.
Jade. And where are you from, Jade?
Scotland.
Whereabouts?
Aberdeen.
So we're full of Aberdonians.
Old Meldrum.
Where?
Old Meldrum.
Old Meldrum. Old Meldrum. Okay, I've never been up this far before, so I've never been to Aberdeen. So you could be saying any place, and I wouldn't know if it was real or not.
I've never left England before, so I don't, you know.
It's true. It's Pete's first time in Scotland.
Yeah,
He's never been to
I
Scotland.
came to Scotland once when I was a little kid, and I can't really remember. It's a very long time ago. So, what do you get out of surfing?
I just love surfing because I get to go in the water and go in the waves.
Yeah.
And how long have you been surfing for, Jade?
A year and a half, I think.
A year and a half. And so you've surfed for a year and a half, and already you must be the only Olympic surfer in the room, is that right?
Yeah.
An Olympic surfer in the room?
Surfer in the room.
That's insane.
That's insane.
That is so cool.
And how old? How old are
10.
you? 10.
10. And we've surfed before together, haven't we?
Yeah.
Where else did we surf?
At the wave.
At the wave. That was a great day at the wave. And between that time we've all surfed today, and we surfed at the wave.
Yeah.
And did you have a little trip somewhere surfing?
Yeah, we went to California.
California? For what?
For a competition.
It was quite a big competition.
Yeah.
What competition was it?
For people all over the world.
Wow. And how did you find it?
It was just amazing to surf with other people like me.
Right.
And how did you get on in the competition?
Good. I made it into the semi-finals.
And that was your first competition? Your first?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
really
really
impressive, isn't it?
That's super impressive.
That's pretty impressive. And what about you, Lindsay? How long have you been surfing?
Never.
Never.
You've never surfed?
I hate it.
And that's the end of the UK Surf Show. You don't hate it.
Well, it's not my type.
So what do you like to do then?
Jazz dancing and Tarvis.
I didn't expect that. That's pretty cool.
Okay.
Have you ever surfed?
No.
No. Would you like to try and surf?
No.
You're very good at paddleboarding, aren't you?
Oh yeah, paddleboarding.
Paddleboarding, okay.
Yeah, well, Kev comes, so.
How long have you been paddleboarding for?
I've lost count.
A few years?
Yeah.
And you really enjoy it? Yeah. How do you feel afterwards? Do you feel like really happy in yourself?
Relieved.
Relieved?
Speaking nonsense. Yes.
Yeah, what happened in California?
So my mum made a huge mistake.
Uh-oh.
Mum.
Oh, hands are covering the eyes.
So I went on the mummy ride. Oh my god, I was screaming the whole way there. Oh my god, and in the end I was like, no, in the end, that's what I said.
This is the after 9 o'clock edition. It's cool.
And Mum said it was a ride, but no.
Okay.
Like I was there. Yeah.
Right. And you looking forward to going back on these surf trips, Jade?
Yeah.
What's coming up? Anything?
England,
Okay.
Wales, and maybe France.
Wow.
Nice.
You get around more than us.
Maybe the worlds again.
Oh, the worlds again. So what is that? Another 4 years' time? Is it? So that's in 1 year's time. Okay.
I don't know.
Well, that's awesome. Have you got anything else you'd like to talk about in surfing?
Paralympic
You want to talk about Paralympics?
in 2028.
So the next Paralympics is in 2028. And so actually, Jay, you were the first Scottish Paralympic surfer, am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
That's an amazing
The
achievement.
second one.
So you're going to go to Japan?
No.
No, but I suggest.
Well, maybe.
Japan.
Okay.
Maybe in a few years. Maybe like what? I don't know. Maybe 1 year.
Oh, listen, we're going to be right behind you guys, supporting you, and we look forward to seeing it as well.
Yeah.
You've done not only Scotland proud, but surfing proud. I think it's fantastic what you guys are doing. And,
Thank you.
Yeah. Brilliant.
I think we should get onto the adults now.
That's us told.
Mic drop.
Amazing. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks for that, guys. And guys and girls,
Yeah, cheers, folks. That was there was a lot going on there.
There was Banana Man. There was a lot going on
Banana
there.
Man, that's right. Which is a reference back to the wave from last year.
Which the thing about it was, she was calling you Banana Man for ages, and we were like, why is she calling you Banana Man? And then her mum was like, yeah, it's because you did that thing with the microphone on the banana, and you were like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh, the ladies call me Banana Mitch.
Yeah,
No,
that's not what
no,
I've
not
heard the
true
ladies
at
call
all.
you
It's
at
like,
all.
more like a cashew nut. But yeah, maybe this isn't the place for a conversation like that.
Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe that's on the Buy Me Coffee episode.
So I really enjoyed having them on because I've spent quite a bit of time with Jade and her family since as well.
Yeah.
You may or may not have seen that Jade is the first official ambassador for Lost Shore Surf Resort, which is super cool.
Yep. Yeah.
And I've been doing a little bit of work in the background to just help Jade out and her family with a bit of sponsorship. And I am now tying my timeline. Do I say this? I could be tying my own timelines tight, but I have a gift for them from a rather large brand, which I need to go and present. So now I've got, 2 weeks to get it done?
You've screwed yourself there, haven't you?
Totally. Totally.
Yeah. It's never good to say something on the podcast which I haven't got in place yet.
Yeah. Yeah. So
yeah, but I mean that was good fun, and like hearing how they get around, and like that beach they took us to or told us to meet them at was absolutely fantastic, you know, on the SurfAble guys, and what they do is absolutely fantastic.
I just, you have to be invested at just a different level to be involved, I think, as a volunteer for something like that, because it's so like you can't just switch off. Not like being a surf coach where you can push somebody onto a wave and then just mind surf the wave behind it. Kind of just forget about that person. And of course, not that I'm saying any surf instructor or I have ever done that. But these guys are super invested in what they do, and it's so good to be able to see, the giving back, which is exactly what it is, and allowing some less fortunate people the opportunity to experience surfing. And I know what it gives me, so I can imagine what it gives someone else.
Yeah, no, it's just, and they're nice guys, full of the usual piss takey banter, and everything that goes with it. Just all round nice guys, and do a fantastic job.
And that was actually something that I wouldn't say it caught me off guard, but like there was just, even before we started recording, there was so much banter in that room and so much piss taking of each other, and mainly of you, Pete. But
yeah, brilliant.
I guess I was just expecting what I remember as a kid from anybody that was involved with like sort of charity or charity work or stuff like that, is that they were always just the most goody two-shoes, boring, nothing outside of that they get involved in, kind of people. Yeah. So to sit down with these, and they were just talking like us and swearing away like troopers, like it just absolute bants, like I found that quite heartwarming, and it just showed me that it's just real people doing this stuff. And I had a really good time. I thought it was class.
Yeah, great. It was. Yeah, that was a really good day. That was the longest day, actually, the whole day of that one, wasn't it? Because we went to see the Crookshanks afterwards, and then your geography thought someone else was 5 minutes up the road, and it turns out they were another hour and a half up the road, so we didn't go to that. But I think we got back to yours about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. Absolutely, just walked in and just didn't even say anything, and just went to bed straight away.
Straight to bed together,
yeah.
That's where the tablet really helped. The tablet helped the drive back. It's the only reason we stayed awake.
Did.
Don't you remember as well, driving back?
Was.
And my van lights were slightly offset, aren't they? If you remember right, and every passing car was just flashing the entire way back. That's what kept me awake.
Yeah, well, it must be. You should just sort your lights out in your van.
I've tried to short my lights out. Thanks very much.
I'm sorry. It's because I'm speaking Scottish.
Not sure that's how it goes.
Anyway, it is. It is. I was going to do a really offensive Sean Connery impression then, but I shan't do that. So, yeah, competition. The competition is well underway and it's ending, well, within the next couple of days. So if this comes out on the Sunday, say we'll end it on the Tuesday and let the results out by next weekend.
Yeah, so, and don't forget, all you have to do is go follow Surf Hardware UK Instagram page and just tag a mate in this post, the giveaway post, which is on our social media, the UK Surf Show, and you'll be on with a chance of winning another epic FCS giveaway.
Yeah. That's it. So, that's been it for this episode. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about or discuss before we adjourn?
Well, so it's worth just, because we were chatting about Jade and SurfAble Scotland as part of the bigger SurfAble.
I knew he'd have something else to fucking say.
Go
on. What else you got? Go on, keep going.
No, I wanted to chat about the Paralympics quickly. Because
no, joking. Yeah, go on,
hoping Jade will be the first Paralympic Scottish surfer competing. Yeah. But next year, the Paralympics, surfing isn't actually included in 2024's Paralympics because they're still trying to sort out it's obviously very complicated trying to make a tier system because it's not just a case of you're a prone surfer, you're a sitting, you're a kneeling surfer, or you have, one less arm than the other person. It's super, super complicated and they still haven't got there yet. So 2028 will be the first Paralympics with the inclusion of surfing. And I, for one, look forward to seeing that.
Yeah, I look forward to us being there. And doing live commentary from there.
Oh, the state of this, are you joking?
We can't even get up in the morning, to be honest. So there's no hope. But as I say, thanks to Srface for sponsoring the show. And use the discount code UK Surf Show 23. That'll get you 10% off anything at Srface Wetsuits. And they also have, I don't know if it'll still be running by the time this one comes out, but there's a additional 20% off a lot of items. So with our discount code, you can get 30% off of some wetsuits. And I've got a new remix summer suit on the way, so I'll be testing that out. Speaking about that soon, Mitch is swinging his arms around and pointing at his t-shirt because he's got a Duke Scotland t-shirt on. Yeah, I've worn mine on the podcast already before, so he's just copying me again. So
yeah, it is.
But Duke Scotland's. We got to thank Sam again because Sam Larg, he let us use Duke Scotland for literally just a base to record, feed us, water us, and then even took us around to the Cheese Toasty Shack. Let me look at his awesome cars, and was just nicer to me than you are, actually. So next episode will be me and Sam Larg doing this podcast. And
well, it's been great, Pete.
That's great. He's got nothing to say to that. It's fucking brilliant. Right, let's go quick.
Take it while you can get it.
Yeah, take it while you can. Right.
I had a surf.
So that's it.
No, it's not it. I had a surf on my doorstep last night. Literally,
didn't you? You sent me a picture as well.
Unexpected. There was no swell even forecast. Shouldn't have hit here.
I spoke to you, didn't I? And you was like, "There's some guy surfing," but he said, and you went, "But it's not like it doesn't look like he's surfing at the wrong end of the beach." And
it was odd to see because I mean, if we go off the rules of localism, which as I've clearly stated before, I'm a massive fan of. Because we all own the bit of beach where we chose to grow up. It should be hours and hours only. So according to
I love it when Scottish people start shouting, it just sounds like the most menacing accent ever.
So according to the etiquette rules of surfing, because I'm pretty much the only surfer that lives in this town and I live on the beach, that guy didn't come and get his little raffle number ticket. He's placing the queue.
He didn't get permission off you.
The meat counter in Asda to get permission to surf.
Anyway,
I had a few days surfing at Bamborough, which was a lot of fun.
Oh, that was supposed to be Saltburn, wasn't it? Because there was literally a line of people waiting to throw stuff at you at Saltburn, and you never turned up because you got scared.
Red carpet was supposed to be waiting.
Yeah.
Well, no. I was always stopping at Bamborough because that's my route. I always go via Bamborough. and Saltburn looked
Yeah.
better. But I thought I'll stop at Bamborough to get a surf. I did.
Yeah.
And then when I looked at the forecast again, it actually looked better in Bamberger than it did in Saltburn for the following day. So I just stayed there, but it died.
Yeah. See anyone good there?
Saw some previous guests of the show.
Yeah.
Old Emily.
Yeah.
And she rips him. I surf with Emily quite a bit. Bamborough is a fairly local spot to me, as in terms of when I was driving up and down to Yorkshire every weekend, I would always stop in Bamborough, so it's not a new spot by any means.
How long does it take you to get there from yours?
2 hours.
Yeah.
But I realised it's only an hour from my office at my new job, so it's actually closer for me to go to Bamborough after work than it is to come home. So if I'm going to do a couple of days in the office, I figure Bamborough in the van, then back to the office could work out quite well.
Nice. And
that's it.
Oh, well, you got it all fucking sorted and going on, haven't you? Right, well, I'm just going to sit here in my little office staring at the screen, and that'll be it for the rest of my time.
You should have had one of these mint Oreo milkshakes.
But your daughter didn't make me one, did she? She made you one. So, you got like servants coming into you and everything, feeding you and serving you drinks before you start. And I'm just here in my little packed in office. If I turn this camera around the other way, you just see like a pile of absolute nonsense going on that I haven't sorted through yet. But,
I'm kind of a big deal.
That's it, isn't it? Yeah, she's kind of a twat. Anyway, let's go. See you later.
See ya.